Simoun is one of the gay anime, and that's why I watched it. Simoun depicts a world in which everyone is born as a girl. At the age of 17, people go to a magical spring to have their sex permanently assigned to them as either male or female. I wanted to see Simoun engage me with the inherent queerness of this premise, but this ain't no Wandering Sun, and this ain't no Welcome Back Alice. Each of these pieces better engage me with its genderqueer ideas than Simoun. Episode 2 of Simoun, I feel, does a really great job of depicting the anxiety and grief of someone who cannot decide whether to be a man or a woman, and ultimately having it chosen for them by higher power, which, I mean, maybe that's familiar to some people. Other than that, this is an anime about flying machines powered by two girls kissing. I guess there's a war. It's not that important. Really, I think the war plot is primarily used to give a reason for our large cast of characters to be together and to put them into harrowing and stressful situations that allow us to dive into their mental hang-ups and relationship drama. Towards the middle of the show, a pattern develops of focusing on a character and their problems for an episode until every character is given adequate screen time. The characters are the main thrust of the show, but I really didn't care for a lot of them, so I'm going to talk about everything else instead. Simoun has some interesting things to show the viewer that isn't weird 2000s era CG, but while I'm on that, I will say, okay, how does this compare to other 2000s era CG and anime? I don't have the knowledge to make a comment on that, but looking with my modern sensibilities at this dated animation, I do think it looks just a little bit odd. More than the actual CG itself, though, the mechanical design in Simoun is what really struck me as bizarre. Look at these things! Who designs this? Are they flying snails of death? No, they're piloting ships known as Simouns, special helical engine aircraft created. Look at these weird guns. Look at this train, this boat, these flying machines. It's weird stuff, but because it's so weird, I find it equally imaginative. Simoun has got plenty of weird things going on with it that builds the world of Daikuriku. A binary star hangs in the sky. There's a country shrouded in polluting smog that you don't learn much about. There's this private cruise liner with smaller settings inside itself, which is now a renovated aircraft carrier. There's this flying fortress that looks like it belongs in a PlayStation 2 game. There's ruins in a crater in a desert. Simouns perform magic by writing giant runes in the sky called Rimajon that apparently pray to God, which is called Tempest Spatium, which alludes to how the Simouns control time and space, which explains how the spring has the miracle of bilocation, and there's time travel, and she'll take a potato chip and she'll eat it! The Simouns were what really intrigued me. Being the anime's namesake, everything in the show can be tied back to these odd devices. There is a constant mystery that surrounds the Simoun throughout the anime. Are they merely just machines, or are they truly a holy chariot that allows one to transcend? That mystery is what planted this sense of unease into my mind and is what gave me a creeping sense of dread that, indeed, the unexplainable nature of these aircraft proclaims their divinity, and with each flight, somehow an unknowable, inconceivable god grew ever closer. Even so, with the possibility of gaining certainty, the theocracy of Simulacrum, which I feel has such a long, rich history of tradition, breaks apart as war drives the faithful into doubt. Priestesses are made into child soldiers, divine relics into weapons of mass destruction, and prayers into reused explosion animations. Simoun is strangely magical and romantic, not just because there are time-traveling lesbians, but it's in the presentation. Look at this! Look at this! Look at this! Yeah, she's dead. That magic and romance of the visuals is also carried in its soundtrack. I might actually remember this one, because it got leitmotifs. I love those things. It's like music can carry themes or tell a narrative or something. That's fucking crazy. One problem with it, though. I feel that the soundtrack is misused throughout Simoun. There's one track I explicitly remember thinking, this is not the right song for this mood. You're telling me that the song used to set the mood for this is also what's being used for this? Actually, I got a lot more questions to ask because there are quite a few contrivances and weird details that aren't elaborated on or explained. We're shown a technique that renders the Rimajon spells inoperable and is very effective as a Simoun countermeasure, yet it is never again used for the whole series. Why? If Simoun are holy tools, why are they fitted with guns to be weapons of war? Were they added to the construction after the war started? If Daminura and Ayaru's grandfather were both part of Corps Dextra, how old was Daminura when she was part of that corps? How old is she in the story? I feel like the timeline doesn't quite match up somewhere here. If the Arcus Niger had other Sibylla, does this mean there are more cores elsewhere in the Holy Land? If so, why does it seem like everything hinges on the cores of the Arcus Prima? Why does one of Ayaru's eyes turn red? What is this Rimajon pattern? What would life realistically be like on a planet with a binary star system? How can I play the Simoun PS2 game? But then, I gotta ask this question. Are these questions actually important to ask? Now, this one I have an answer for that's a resounding no. Except the last one, because I want to play that. You don't need to sort through the finer details to get the broad strokes of Simoun and see that the staff behind the show had a vision for this anime. A vision or just a convoluted excuse to have girls kiss each other. I don't know why, but I have this sense that if Simoun were brought back, it could be a hit today. Something in me wants to see the vision of Simoun expanded on. I want to see it taken to heights that I believe it's capable of. I want to see Simoun without limits. I want to see it so bad, I made a shitty outline for how I would organize the project in the description. I mean, if I didn't bring myself back after dying in the last episode, you wouldn't have got this one, so think about that. You take that with you to sleep tonight.